What's up, y'all? So I thought I'd come back with Bantu knots and thoughts. I haven't done a video in a little bit, so I'm back. And I wanted to do an update video that's gonna be following this video. This video is pretty much a video I've been wanting to do for a minute. But basically I just detangled my hair and did like some twists. As you can see, can you see? As you can see, can you see? Okay, you can't see that. You super can't see that. But I have my tips are emerald green. You'll see when I'm doing my shit. But I am coming here today to talk to you guys about dating while conscious. I guess like breaking down what consciousness is, and talking about how white supremacy gets in the way of dating, and also how white supremacy can just be like all infiltrating in so many ways, especially when I'm dating black and brown cis men. So let's start this video off. Start with the back. Start with the kitchen. Yes, girl, yes, girl. So, as I've shown y'all before, a Bantu knot is basically where you take two strand twists and doing my two strand twist. And once you're done, what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to wrap it around, making a Bantu knot. Now, that's just one of them. I'm doing them pretty small because I really do want like a really defined tight curl. So that's what I'm gonna get doing today. But I'm gonna keep on going with my Bantu knots. But I wanted to start off talking about some recent dating experiences that I've had and just, online dating and being in a new place. I am in Colorado right now, so the amount of black men that I see on a day to day is very low. The amount of black women I see on a day to day, very low. Women of color in general, again, very low, but it seems like if there are women of color around, they are Latinat. So, or on the lighter skin spectrum of things. And so I'm not really seeing a lot of like dark skin women of color, medium skin women of color. I think honestly with my tan at this point, I'm the darkest person I've seen in a long time around this bitch. So is not I don't want to say the word jarring because I've been in places, or rather I've been in spaces where there were a large population of white folks around. But it's definitely different from New Orleans, I mean, without saying. So anyways, I've been going on dates, and I think something that like I've recently realized is the more aware you are of oppression, the less you really will be able to tolerate certain people. And I don't want to say certain groups of people because I don't want to make it a group thing, but I will say that, living in a white supremacist nation has limited my tolerance for white fuckery. And by white fuckery, I mean just like white folks who are just uneducated on oppression and therefore perpetuating it and just pumping out all of this like toxic ass energy around people of color, myself in particular. So, dating white men has become extremely difficult at this point. I think my last serious relationship with a white man, um, it it definitely was very like traumatic, very depressing, like to look back at. Very eye opening at how like white supremacy really will just creep on that ass and just like make you feel like, okay, well, I'm with this person, and then, trying to negotiate what stakes are in this relationship, and, if you leave, like what that person's privilege can, what that person can do with their privilege, excuse me, let me not make their privilege autonomous, but what that person can do with their privilege to make, that person of color's life a little bit harder. And I'm not gonna lie, I have been, in a lot of conversations with like women of color in particular who have dated white men who have like done just like shady, violent, ridiculous ass things to them post breakup. So I think like after my last experience with a white cis man, I've pretty much just been low key just trying to like do me and like find, you know primarily black cis men to have company with. But it is not without its challenges. Now let me get my drink. Let me get my drink. I was so thirsty. Lord. So, anyways, um, when I talk about dating black or brown cis men, I think something that comes to mind automatically is outing myself. I feel like in this society, so much of oppression is normalized that to be actively working against oppression, oppressors, and oppressive ass rhetoric and actions, um, it is it is definitely something that you out yourself doing. And I'm not trying to co-opt gay language. I'm just trying to say, like, in terms of outing yourself, in terms of just making yourself visible as someone that is not complicit in supremacy, in hierarchical oppression, and things that all fall underneath that umbrella. And I feel like when I'm dating black and brown cis men, I all the time am outing myself, mainly because I feel, and I realize skinship is not kinship at the same time. There are times where, I will be giving a black man way more, just way more, I don't want to say chances, but I want to say the amount of fucks I will find for a black man or a brown man um supersedes the shit that I will find for a white man. And I feel like in ways there has been intersectional experiences where, I was dating white men for safety, where I was dating white cis men for, financial stability, for their privilege, of being more financially secure than other options that I had to date romantically. And I'm not at all trying to make a sweeping statement about finances. I'm just saying that white men have privilege that men of color do not. And when I was exercising that, when I was exercising my privileges in order to be in spaces with white men, white cis men in particular, I was definitely, I feel like, in ways moving in a way that was partially motivated by safety, partially motivated by wanting to somehow commodify the privilege that I had, with the privilege that my partner could potentially, not give me, obviously, but I suppose aid me with. And I realize that there are so many problematic layers with that, but I want to be transparent about white partner privilege, which I do believe is a thing. I feel like I had a I don't want to say a fight. I feel like I had a very heated conversation with someone about this because they didn't feel like they had privilege based on their partner. However, to say that, like, a white person sharing a life with you, entangling themselves financially with you, to say that there is no privilege there, especially as, like, a dark-skinned black woman, I kind of just felt like she was not at all grasping what I was saying. I feel like in ways she might have thought just having a white partner is a privilege or a status, which I don't disagree with at all. I believe that is also true as well. And I believe, again, like, it depends on who it is, who's the audience, and 9 times out of 10, we're dealing with people who are just not at all familiar with the hierarchy as it is, or rather the oppressive systems that do exist that shape a lot of the things that we do see, react to, and believe. So, but I got into a heated argument because I was saying that, like, having a white partner definitely does give you privileges. And I think as of recently, I've been really trying to break down what that is, to break down what it is to be dating a white cis man, and the differences. And most recently, I was seeing someone, and I felt myself really quickly being able to ascertain, what is going on in their life. And I feel like that's just me, as someone that's just very observant. But I realized that right away, like, this person was a white person who was extremely unaware of their privilege, also extremely unaware of the privilege of the other white people around them, and extremely unaware of how their privilege affected spaces that, like, I was in with them or that they would try to bring me into. And I felt like I was doing a lot of work. I felt like that was one of the things that I definitely picked up on immediately upon dating this white person, was that I was constantly being asked to do work. And it wasn't something like, oh, hey, can you know what I mean? Like, oh, can, like, it wasn't like oh, hey, let me acknowledge that I'm a white person and I'm asking you this because my ignorance stems from za 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 za. You know what I mean? Like, giving, holding themselves accountable for being complicit in white supremacy, being complicit in hegemony, being complicit in the lack of awareness of other cultures. There was no accountability there. So every conversation we had, it was basically like, oh, hey, what does this mean? Or hey, can you tell me this? And I was being told by another white person who was close to this person that I shouldn't take it so defensively, because when two different people come together, like, there's going to be questions that each one asks. But the thing is, when I'm dating a white cis man, I notice I have no questions, bitch. I have no questions. I'm not sitting here asking a white man, oh, what does this word mean? Because it's rooted in fucking African American vernacular English. You feel me? I'm not asking these white men for shit. And I'm noticing that the pay dirt or the exchange is very controlling, very possessive. These white cis men will go out of their way to do things that are obviously very nice, or things that like should be appreciated, I suppose, but in context with being someone who's obviously being forced to do work, being forced to be in company with this person and perform in a way, I really didn't feel like, or rather I was able to kind of, distance the two. Because when you're like, oh, I'm dating this person and they did this for me, it's like, okay, but when you bring into the layers of what their abilities are, what their finances are, what is their privilege in terms of capitalism, what is their privilege in terms of, whiteness, and just bringing all that into account, it was harder for me to really appreciate what this person was doing, because I could just see how possessive and how manipulative this person was trying to be with their privileges and with their resources. And I just really got into this mindset where you know, I let them know, um, like, I'm really interested in a relationship, but I don't feel like it would be the right thing for me to get into right now, mainly because I feel like my objectives in life are not at all aligned with like trying to create a relationship with another person. I feel like it's extremely hard for me to create a connection with another person, and I feel like part of what I want from these people that are like seemingly partners, seemingly we're dating, I want like their time, but in a way that is in ways extremely possessive. And I feel like that's something I need to unlearn for myself. With that being said, I will still go on a date and, just meet these people. But I feel like today, though, I kind of had an epiphany that was kind of like, maybe I shouldn't go on dates with people, because if I meet someone I really like, I'm not in a space to really do anything about that. I'm not in a space to really handle that. So it's actually even more scary to be trying to be out here than to just, stay by myself, or to just, be real about, the limits, to my care. But with that being said, I want to get back to work. Now, this white man was constantly asking me what things meant, and seemingly trying to get points with me for knowing things in black culture that perhaps I didn't know, mainly because of a age gap, or even just an interest level. And I just felt like there was a level of performance on the white man's part where he was trying to let me know, oh, bitch, I know about black stuff, I just got that vibe, like, oh, I know about black things. I'm familiar with a blackness. And I again realize how blackness has been purported to be through, again, this white lens. So therefore these white people will tell you, oh, they know about black culture, but in reality what they know about is who is black on that top 100 charts, or who is black in this song, or what rap song is this, or what hip-hop TV show is this. They won't really be able to tell me anything about pre-chattel slavery, because that is where the fuck their history of blackness starts. And I feel like, to be honest with you, as much as that is the starter of black history in America for a lot of white people, they will consciously forgo that shit to bring it up to speed to Barack Obama. Or they might even they might even slide back enough to say some shit about MLK. They might say some shit, they probably will say some shit about the Black Panthers, and the negative, of course. And don't get me wrong, there's critiques of the Black Panthers, and I want to get into it. But moving forward, I felt like there was just a level of performance. And I feel like, with anything, there is a level of performance, especially in this society where you don't have the freedoms to kind of make visible what is invisible in the situation. You know what I mean? So, with that being said, I felt like the experience I had with this white person was just extremely fake, and extremely contrived, and just made me feel extremely vulnerable to more whiteness invading my personal space. So I let this person pretty much break up with me and like just stop dealing with me, because I just didn't want to assert myself in that way. I felt like I'd spent a lot of the relationship, which was like really only a couple weeks, trying to define what exactly it was that I was looking for. But as I said, all the while, I'm doing all this extra work. I'm meeting people in his family and having debates on anti-racism that are seemingly circular. And I'm like, do I really want to be involved in another white man's family? You know what I mean? Do I really want to be in another family with a white cis man where I'm like fucking being used for education and not being paid coins? You know what I mean? And not at all getting any kind of reciprocation for the work that I've had to do just to fucking survive. And I feel like that's the disconnect there, is that this is work I'm doing for survival in order to kind of keep my shit together. And like these white men can just ask of me, all of these things that I had to really do a lot to earn and to kind of understand and work with. So I feel like with that, there's already a resentment in ways to the lack of awareness. And granted, don't get me wrong, whenever I meet white people who seemingly have a any kind of awareness, I just find sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes there's a cockiness about understanding oppression, or seemingly understanding oppression as much as one can when it's a white person, because they will really just like pop out with some other shit, or even sometimes just seem like they want like a gold star or a cookie or some kind of masturbatory fucking thing that I'm just not really interested in giving to them. More importantly, see, more importantly, I'm not the authority on none of this shit. I'm just one person trying to talk about my experience. So I feel like when you put people of color, the individual, on a pedestal to kind of teach you, that's again insulting as fuck, because we're not teachers. We have the capability to teach, and not even all of us, because that's ableist to say that every person of color has the capability to teach any non-person of color anything. But at the same time, like, we're not harboring all these experiences just to give them away. And I feel like that's what some white people don't get. And I feel like it's especially hard when trying to date white cis people of any gender, because I mean, whiteness is pervasive, but when we're talking about white cis men, I just feel like there's like a level of performance that I'm just like not really interested in doing anymore. And I feel like when there's that lack of performance where I'm like calling shit out left and right and I'm just being me, I feel like there's always that moment where they're kind of just like, damn. And they have that moment that I consistently have, which is it's everywhere. You know what I mean? It's a R.L. Stein moment where you wake up and the spiders all over shit. It's like that's how deep oppression is. That's how illogical and how embedded it is. So it's hard to be in a space with someone who just don't see it like that, or for someone that just doesn't get your experience. And again, it's extremely impossible for a white person to get that experience ever, even on an understanding only basis. So it's sometimes I feel like when I'm dating white cis people, I wonder like, am I like, what is it? You know what I mean? Am I using them for survival? Am I just like simply manipulating a situation to where I can gain? Fucking goddamn motherfucking, whew, scare me. Mailman scare me, girl. I was like, who is coming to this window, bitch? That tea is hitting it. So anyways, Lordy, where was I? But I wanted to move on to talk about dating black cis male partners. And I will say this. I will say that the level of performance is not without some manipulation, because I feel like, I'm on this video right now with my nice natural, okay? But I will not lie. On my dating profile, I typically do feature pictures of myself with weave. Now, granted, there have been multiple times where I've put up pictures of my natural hair, but I feel like in ways, like at the times, I felt like my natural hair was more for me and not for other people. And I mean, I don't wanna say that that's 100% all it is, because I feel like in other ways, there is a level of attractiveness that I feel like comes with me wearing not natural hair. I feel like there's a level of attractiveness that obviously is rooted in Eurocentric beauty standards and which is problematic as fuck, but I'm not going to lie to make it seem like I don't have a problematic thinking pattern from time to time, especially when it comes to my personal aesthetic. I think it's extremely hard for me as an outspoken woman of color to be dating. As I said, the consciousness makes it kind of hard. So then on top of me being conscious, my natural hair is also coded in many ways. And I think because of that, I think I'm a little bit more shy with my natural hair because I feel like the connotations something on my person can have, outside of my skin, which I can control. I can control whether or not someone sees my natural hair. I can't control whether or not someone sees that I'm a person of color. Not that I would want to control that shit, but we have to be realistic about privilege and how it works. And there are people of color out there that wish they could hide their color. There are people of color out there who do their best to pass as white. There are people of color who do their best to code as another race because of privilege, but also because of anti-blackness being extremely fucking just horrible and just like fucking draining and emotional and depressing. And again, I'm not gonna sit here and act like the things that I do are free from supremacy or free from privilege, because they're not. We don't exist in a vacuum. We exist in this world, and there are lots of toxic influences. But I feel like it's only been, I feel like it's only been real for me to explain, or rather to express how I feel like when I wear my natural hair. Like when I have my natural hair out, I feel really good. When people acknowledge my natural hair, it makes me feel really good. I love, I love playing with my hair. I love doing my hair. I love showing my hair off. I love my hair being touched. I love all of these things. But I will say that in ways, white supremacy has made things kind of like hectic for me in terms of my natural hair, because I kind of didn't wear my natural hair out for like I kind of took a step back from my natural hair, and started going hella hard with wigs again, probably for like the last couple months. And as soon as I decided to leave New Orleans and come to Colorado, I was wearing my natural hair, and I noticed that like literally I couldn't go more than a couple minutes without somebody putting their hands in my hair. And I started to feel like really awkward because, I'd be in a bar, I'd be trying to get my drink on, I'd be trying to vibe, I'd be trying to do whatever the fuck I'm doing, and someone would just think it was okay to put their hands on me first, but to put their hands on something so personal as my hair. And I mean, I will say this, because I was wearing wigs so hard, my natural hair was like hidden from people. It was only touched by me. The top of my head is typically only touched by me. So for someone new to be touching my head that I did not consent to, it definitely creates like a weirdness feeling physically, but also emotionally irks me, because we all know, or I shouldn't say we all know, but as a black female bodied person, I feel like wearing my natural hair was a source of dread as a younger person, because I was always scared that some white person was going to touch my hair and tell me it was gross, or tell me that it was too greasy or some shit like that. And I have had that happen to me. And I can't recall the instances, but I know it's happened. It's just like something I feel like I blocked out just so that I didn't really have to cope with that shit. Or rather, to cope, I did block it out. But that fear is something that's prevalent as fuck in my adult years, especially, I'm like 24, I'm like dating, kind of, I guess I'm out here. Um, but it's like, nobody wants to be othered, and I feel like in ways, I've have my own shit to kind of work through with like internalized anti-blackness, because as my friend told me, my friend Pearl, who wears her hair natural full time primarily, she was just like, it's awkward, like, you claim your blackness, but you hide your visible blackness. And and I know that we've had conversations, she's saying, but I feel like in ways, it definitely just, it pisses me off and it annoys the fuck out of me. And I feel like at first I was like annoyed, but I mean, I get where she's coming from. I'm a lighter skinned black person, and I'm here, and I have the privilege of opting out of being, black in ways, like in terms of like my presentation or my visible blackness being my hair. And I will say that in ways, like the exotification that comes with me not wearing my natural hair is not at all free from like the exotification I get, with wearing my natural hair. I feel like the thing is, when I wear a wig, it's not 100% me being like, oh, I don't look black. It's more so I look sickening. And not to say that my hair isn't sickening already, it's just a different type of sickening. And I feel like autonomy is real in that black women have all the rights in the world to do whatever the fuck they want. If they want to take a staple gun and staple some fucking tinsel to their shit, that's their fucking prerogative. And we shouldn't always try to pathologize everything black female body folks do. However, for me personally, I know that when I have a sickening long wig on, like be it blonde, be it red, be it black, I feel like that bitch. And I feel like that ties in with our levels of femininity in terms of blackness and women of color's femininity, and femininity being attached to like beauty standards and gender essentialism. You feel me? It's a lot of layers to this shit. It's very complex. But with that being said, my friend Pearl was just, she was annoyed as fuck with me because she was just like, I feel like you wear these wigs and, you get, you say you're black, but, it's hard for people to, but it's weird that you would hide your visible blackness. Like, if you know that, like, the way you're coded in terms of the way you look and the way you present is not coded as black, for you to hide something that's on you is black would give people without a doubt the fact to know that you're black. How does that work? And I mean, in ways, I understand what she's saying for sure, because I feel like I don't want to say it's a dual consciousness or a cognitive dissonance or any shit like that. I feel like it really is autonomy. Like, underneath these wigs, I still have this hair. So it's not like my blackness is not there. It's just that for the moment, I'm wearing something that's not my natural hair. Does that need to be disclosed? For sure it does not. That is an invisible part to me that's not at all withstanding on anything. My real hair really doesn't come into, it's not a problem. My real hair is not a problem, and neither is my fake hair or the hair that I'm choosing to wear. I feel like the problem is not acknowledging, why it is that perhaps you're wearing fake hair in this situation, or why you do problematic things such as tell people perhaps it is real. I have told people that my weaves is real mainly because I didn't want to either one get into a conversation about wearing weave, or two, I just didn't want to be feeling invalidated as fuck as a person, because I feel like whenever I tell people something on me that they admire is fake, they just kind of treat me like, oh damn, well, bye, you know what I mean? And I'm like, well, damn, like, and in ways it's like, why is that? Why is it that you could approach me so confidently when you thought that I had green eyes or whatever, but when you see, or because I told you that they're contacts, you're like, oh, I'm not interested in you anymore, or oh, like, I knew they weren't real because, like, they're too nice. And then it makes me think about women of color who are my color, who do have light eyes, who are exactly exotified for their eyes, but also being invalidated by people not believing that it's real. Is it my fault that, like, women with, actually light eyes are invalidated? Of course not. Women with light eyes aren't invalidated because women wear contacts, and women of color with long, perhaps non-kinky, curly, coily hair, are not at all being slighted by women who are wearing weaves or hair extensions or anything like that. It's just it's more so that there is a love of whiteness, that there is a love of Eurocentric beauty, that is kind of like, if a person, especially a white cis person, sees any kind of inkling that you might not be full black, or that you might look too far from blackness to be black as they see it, that's when, they invalidate your personhood or invalidate your humanity by questioning the validity, the realness of what you have on you. And I feel like that also plays into, like, transness, you know what I mean? I feel like in ways, when I used to wear wigs, like, I used to feel like when people found out I wore wigs, I feel like that's when they immediately thought I was, like, not a female-bodied person, or they thought I was someone who was trans. And I feel like my own gender identity was always being, like, fucking challenged by people just assuming that because I decided to wear a blonde wig or a red wig, that I was automatically a quote-unquote drag queen and or drag performer and or trans person. And so I feel like there was a lot of hate. There's a lot of transphobia out there, a lot of racism, and I'm dealing with all that shit simultaneously, while, you know, my shit is all in flux and shit. You feel me? So it's so much to deal with. I'm getting all off topic. Fuck my life. But fuck, bringing it back. I'm gonna make another video, but I'm gonna bring it back.